This is the second Friday in a row, aggressively healthy.
Good Friday.
Good Friday. It is a great Friday. We did a little pastel. This is pastel, kind of, right?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely Easter green.
Definitely Easter green.
Like, you couldn't wear that
any other
it was,
time.
Yeah.
Unless
Passover green?
Yeah,
Is that what it's
Passover
called?
green.
Yeah.
How is the weekend coming up? Any plans for Easter?
Well, today's Good Friday, obviously. It's my son's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, no way. How about them apples?
So, and then we go to my sister-in-law's for Easter.
Nice. Does anybody else
Easter
find
presents.
it like a weird... Oh, yeah.
Easter
We're
presents.
actually a year out.
Tomorrow.
Rest in peace, Matthew Nolan.
Yeah.
God bless his soul. I mean that. I'm going to try not to cry because it really is sad, but we do miss him. Second piece of that is a year ago, essentially, we started the discussion, or maybe it was 2 years. Shit, it might have been 2 years, or was it last year, that we did the Easter egg hunt.
It was 2 years ago.
And Lily, who now works here at RTS Health, who was Matt's sidekick.
That was the story? She was the story?
I think maybe. No?
I don't.
Well, there was a story about Easter
egg.
egg. Yeah, now we can ask her.
With the
There was
money.
a story with Easter eggs and money. So, do you guys celebrate Easter as if it's like a gift holiday now? Because it
Oh, my
seemed to
wife
have...
does. I don't. She's like, "What'd you get him?" I was like, "I didn't get him anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't get him anything."
Back in the day, it was Christmas.
But it's my son's birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
I was like, "What more present
Stuff.
gift crap does he need?"
Yeah,
Like,
not a lot.
nothing.
Which is essentially like the calories of our world, right? Caloric excess is our problem. And a philosophical statement. If you look at modern society, and I think I said this once before, part of, I think, what we're being tested truly as humans to deal with is tech. How much tech can we use, or how much tech do we need to use? Because we have the availability to clearly shoot rockets to the moon and catch them, but we still can't figure out how to like feed people and not have people die from starvation while having an obesity epidemic, right? Like, if you think about that, whoever's running the business of the world is completely botching it. But in a world of excess, is your metabolism broken? Is it chemical? Or is it environmental? So it's like a nature versus nurture, metabolism, what is it? We're going to start talking about metabolism in depth. And the whole goal of this conversation is to dissect metabolism and then figure out, can we affect it? Because we've always been told we can't. And forever, especially women sat in doctors' offices and were told, you're getting older, your metabolism slows down. Let's start with that. What's your thoughts on that statement?
So the myth of as you age, your metabolism slows down. Is that the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we're forced to think that, which
Yeah.
is forcing somebody into a grave.
The biggest travesty to me is that that could only have been perpetuated from the medical community.
Right.
Right? Like no one would have said, "Oh man, I'm 46 now. My metabolism must be on its downslide."
Yeah.
No one said that 100 years ago.
No.
So it comes back to, like, we've talked about, like, what is a doctor actually educated on in medical school? Not much medical school is derived or consists of nutrition, exercise. So it is actually very understandable that when people get their information from doctors with training in nutrition, it's limited and probably false, right? So just getting that out of the way.
Which is an interesting statement. We can talk about it later, but like AI currently and all of the electronic nutritional advocates and all these helpers online are driven by the knowledge that was already in those people's textbooks, which was nothing.
Right.
On to the next. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I distracted you.
No, sorry. So that was a very roundabout way of saying the only reason why your metabolism would slow down as you age is if you change the levers behind metabolism, which we'll get into.
Yep.
The biggest one is just your activity level. So as you age, your activity level might slow down a little bit. It's really, when they chart this over a long period of times, they notice the greatest decrease in, let's say, your metabolism is preceded by greatest losses of muscle mass.
Yep.
And there's usually two big periods, let's say mid 40s and mid 60s is when these bigger or outlier periods of decreased muscle mass occur.
Yep.
And therefore, metabolism is actually changed. Now, that probably is also in concert with hormonal changes,
Right.
lifestyle changes, all this other stuff. But objectively, that's something that the research could at least point to is when your muscle mass changes, your metabolism changes.
Yep.
We already know this.
Yeah.
Bodybuilders have known this for the last 50 freaking years
Yeah.
on how to actually create a healthy metabolism and then allow their body to illustrate that through optics.
Yeah, and you know what's neat? So, being in this arena, we see very stand-up humans that are like your everyday, just want to get through the day. Like, hey, I need to wake up, get my kids to school, or go to work. Like, it's that simple baseline. Up to the point of like advanced bodybuilding style workouts. We missed the boat in that bodybuilding industry because while we were being irritated by it in the medical world, irritated by the fact that bodybuilders were doing their own thing and bro science in the back of a gym and all these other things. But don't forget, people, remember one thing. Antibiotics were found by accident. Okay? Penicillin was a miscalculation and ended up working out well. If we look at something in a box and say that's bad, but we don't have the brain power to empathize with the fact that you might not know everything about what's in that box and you don't then go explore the box, try to learn about the box, and then figure out maybe that box is a box because what's inside of it is so powerful that it can't really get out. I think the bodybuilding industry has a lot of that in it. There's metabolic data for like 30, 40 years of really high intensity, no gray zone data that you could never re-experiment with, right? Like I can't have you come in my office and put like 800 milligrams of trenbolone in your arm and test your labs and be like, we're just going to figure out what Mike's doing, right? But you can have somebody who came in who says, hey, doc, I've been neglected by the world. Just like an opioid addict goes to a doctor to get help because they're addicted to something, there are bodybuilders that want help with their anabolic abuse. So we see that. We use that data. But that metabolic data, I will say wholeheartedly, this statement is false. Metabolisms are completely pliable. You can bend them, you can change them, you can make them greater, lesser, whatever you want to do. Proven by the fact that independent of fuel intake, you could have me and you eating the exact same amount of calories, but dependent on exercise, sleep, and variability, that's completely independent of the caloric intake, we will burn at a different rate.
Yep.
So what are things that people always say to you? Because I'm sure you've heard it. They come in here and they're like, listen, I know I'm here, but let me tell you, I know a lot about what I'm doing, right? And here are the things I've tried. I've tried everything. I've tried like nutrition things. I've tracked my macros. I don't know, I pay attention. I train, but I know training really well. So I don't need a trainer. I do it myself. And sleep habits, like I go to bed, I turn the room 68 and like I lay down. So I've tried everything I can. What do you respond to that? I've tried everything I can, and then they present to you with that problem.
Well, how effective are they, what they're doing, or how precise is it to what they're trying to accomplish?
Yep.
Because a lot of times people are using very simple ways of measuring success and very inaccurate ways of measuring the inputs. So, for example, if you were to only use the scale weight in your bathroom as the judge, jury, and executioner of the success of what you're doing, you're already very limited. Because there's something that could be going on beneath that surface or behind that number that is actually incredibly positive. It just hasn't shown up yet as the metric that you're looking for to determine success or not. Now, before that happens, like that's why we call it a lagging indicator.
Yep.
It's something that happens if all these other things are in alignment. So the leading indicators, let's just use a couple easy ones. Your calorie intake, your training routine, your non-exercise activity level, and your sleep. So real four foundational anchors that are leading indicators to what you want to see materialize on the scale.
Right.
I eat healthy. Okay. How much do you eat? Oh, I don't know, but I know I eat good and I eat healthy. Okay. Already quite limited in actually making an actionable item or a thought off of that.
Yep.
Right. I do Tybo 3 times a week, or I go to a commercial model 3 times a week and I do what it's okay. So is it actually building your metabolism or just burning calories?
Yep.
Big distinction. I don't sleep all that well, 5 to 6 hours, but it's enough to exist, maybe not enough to create meaningful change,
right,
or be a proponent of the change that you're looking for.
Yep.
So that's why it's really important when someone says, I've tried it all, they probably really haven't made that many informed decisions if they don't have really good data. And I'm not saying very complicated data, but any data, like legitimate data outside of the scale.
Yeah, any data. And the crazy part to me is, as a doctor in a hospital, metabolism was always this thing like we didn't touch. And it was always based on insulin and diabetes. So the only metabolic diseases we really talked about were diabetes, which is a direct correlation to your blood sugar. How many things on this planet can affect your blood sugar? I mean, it's endless. So much so to the point now where, like, I'm glad, I didn't want to say it before, but some of the OBs are starting to open their eyes to it. LH and FSH are signaling hormones from the brain to tell the ovaries to do stuff like make estrogen, go through my cycle. We were dumb enough, which I saw, I couldn't say it out loud until now, but we were uninformed enough, I'll say, to assume that LH and FSH in the body released by the pituitary in a triangular hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis drawn on a piece of paper with an arrow going from one to the other. Scientists in their brain think that that's exactly how it works. So LH is made, it directly goes to your ovary, and then it directly negative feedback. Well, the probability of that is 0. Most likely LH and FSH prepare the body for the fact that they're about to have the ovaries bomb you with estrogen, release an egg, and try to get you pregnant. So if you really think about that, LH and FSH now we're starting to see affect fat deposition, muscle insulin sensitivity, visceral fat production, uterine line, right? Why? Because it's an environment, the entire body. So metabolism was always viewed as this like insulin carbohydrate thing. That's how they taught it. Metabolism taught in medical school is a carbohydrate-driven thing at the rate at which you burn fat. That's essentially what they tell you, like how much fat you burn is your metabolism. But that's not it at all. And those environmental stressors from a physicality standpoint with data are easy to get. What are some of the data points that you would use beyond a caloric intake or beyond purely, okay, that person got stronger because they told me? What are measurements that you can tell, okay, client A, B, or C, you're doing the right thing with your metabolism, you're doing the wrong thing, and we got to work on yours a little bit more, or some variation of how you can assess it from a gym trainer interactive standpoint, because those are the boots on the ground, right? Those are first line healthcare.
Yeah.
So how are they going to recognize these types of things that then trigger, oh, their metabolism is broken, we got to fix it?
One of the things that I think have created a mass confusion and also frustration with the end user are these things that kind of guesstimate how many calories you burn.
Yeah.
So almost every piece of tech since, let's just say Fitbit, or if you have a smartwatch or some kind of other app that says, hey, great workout, you burned 500 calories today. We know now that almost every tracker that is supposed to allow you some insight on calories burn is so off, like 50 to 60% off.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm bringing that up is because it has given people this false sense of doing things right without the proof or the evidence of the result they're looking for. So that is the mounting frustration. I bring this up because it's another way of looking at output rather than inputs. We know that assessing how many calories you burn is very difficult. If you are trained and taught correctly, knowing how many calories you put in your body and where those calories come from is pretty simple.
Yeah.
So let's focus on that, because if you look at like calories in versus calories out, that's for the most part very true.
Right.
So let's focus on the part of the equation that we can have high levels of consistency, accuracy, and precision. And let's get really good at that and then relate that to the things that we're doing that are also within our control. So if we know that you take in X amount of calories,
yep,
and those calories come from X amount of protein, fat, and carbohydrate, we can start to influence what your activity should look like, even not knowing how many calories you're actually burning.
Right.
Because like you said, metabolism has more to do than just your exercise, just your sleep, just your nutrition. Like, it's a lot of different things.
Yep.
So if we can focus on the big levers to help produce the outcome, or at least produce the trend that people are positive to see and positively reinforces it, the adherence goes up, and we know that it's just a function of time.
Yeah, and the statement you had written on here is people mistake adaptation for dysfunction. Because while you're training, if you don't know those data points, you may think you're actually experiencing a dysfunction of your body.
Yeah.
Like, some people start working out and they're like, well, why didn't I lose all this weight? I'm actually gaining weight. Well, your caloric needs, your carbohydrate needs, your hormone, like all of these things may contribute to faster muscle gaining, faster fat burn, better use of carbs. Your sleep could affect it. Like, there are so many things that the result not being had leads to, oh, that's not working. But really, like the behind the scenes, you have to alter a whole slew of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, medically, I will tell you, when I see people in the office that are in these transitions of metabolism, so they're in caloric deficits with weight loss, they're in muscle builds with caloric excess, when their calories are on and when we're really on point with their adherence, because medically we can tell them what to do, they just got to do it, they really don't alter their body fat percentages in any way that we can't predict. Correct. It's very predictable.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I have a client who's enormous. He's 6'9", he's 400 pounds. He's a true life monster, right? Like a big, amazing human. Now, I have told him, because he was irritated. He's like, you told me I'm going to lose weight. And I said, well, part of your weight loss journey is going to be, as we build muscle, you develop a metabolism that then, the minute we allow it to get less confused by intake and focus more on burning your body fat, it's going to be able to do that really fast. He transitioned 20 pounds of fat into 20 pounds of muscle. That result was known because I knew he was adhering. I knew his weight changed, but I knew the caloric intake with the metabolic profile. So behind the scenes, if we can adjust your thyroid, your cortisol, your mitochondria, all of them, we can adjust your metabolism. People tell us we age, and aging is then associated with pathology. If you can make that association, then how come there's pathology in a 1-year-old that we find in 95-year-olds, right? So time clearly has nothing to do with pathology. So why do we tell people metabolism slows down because you turned 40? Is that a reality that we turned 40 and our metabolism slowed down? Or is it kind of in a lifestyle adherence to exercise, nutrition, that our metabolism is suffering a consequence and we're seeing the result of that with no effort?
I think people also, they think about what they used to be able to do, and they almost privilege that.
Yeah.
So then they blame the fact that the age is the suspect.
Yeah.
And the culprit. Age is the bad guy.
Yeah.
But I try to have people go through the process, especially a lot of our clients are ex-athletes.
Yeah.
Or we're college athletes, a better way of saying it. I was like, what was your life at 22? You woke up, you had to go to the gym, you ate whatever you wanted, then you had to go to practice for 3 hours, then you went and whatever. So like, you were burning
all day
thousands and thousands of calories. And now, Steve, you sit in the office all day and you play golf maybe twice a week.
Yeah.
The amount of calories you burn in a day as a college football player is what you burn in a week now as an office worker.
And we don't mean Steve, we mean Johnny.
Johnny.
Yeah, whoever, Steve or Johnny.
They both work.
Yeah, but it's wild to think about that, but you forget.
The age isn't indicative of that. It's the symptom of having a different lifestyle at 40 as opposed to 22.
Yeah. And the saddest part about that is like if your muscle memory is allowed to like relearn what to do, the time from that experience of relearning to when you lost it, that matters. Yep. Right. So like the further away you get from that athletic style of life, the harder it is to get back. Why? Because it takes time to build your metabolism back.
Right.
But you can, right? And talking points relative to turning 40. Okay. Kids and family, social life, sedentary work. These are the things we kind of associate with that 30 to 40. How do you then advise somebody, hey, this is what you're doing. This is your lifestyle. If that can't change, are there ways we can work around that? Like calorically on days where we know they're going to be sitting more, we adjust their calories there. On workout days, we can adjust calories there. Like, can we really morph into a lifestyle medicine where we're actively engaging with people that might have a job that they're at a desk, but the transition of that into health might be, hey, you got to give us a couple hours on the other end where your workout style might be different than the person who comes in, works out, and then is a lineman and they're up in a bucket truck working with 100-pound pieces of metal all day. How can we do that? How can we get these things that we think are slowing us down into 40 to become relatively non-existent in our equation of calories in, calories out?
I mean, we say this all the time, is that we try to build Ferraris.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and only from the standpoint of the opposite of that would be, let's say, a Prius. And most people are thinking that they have to become very efficient. Yeah. And they bias to like a cardio and a low carb and all that stuff, when it really then just reinforces all the bad things that are happening to you as you age. So, and we bring up Ferrari because there is a element of metabolic inefficiency that we do strive for. Like that's deliberate, that's purposeful. The biggest lever to do that is to try to stack as much muscle mass on you, especially if you are sedentary, because it allows you to consume more food because you're going to burn through it faster.
Yes.
So even if you're only averaging, let's say 5,000 or 6,000 steps a day as a proxy of non-exercise activity, you still have to burn more calories at rest because you do have more muscle mass, whether that you're a male or female. That is not to say that we're trying to give you a powerlifting, bodybuilding lifestyle. It is so that you are better equipped at handling the potential metabolic diseases that are also associated with aging.
Yep.
Because and you can speak on this, is that if you look at the muscle system as a giant organ to preserve health. Yep. We want to create as big of a reservoir as possible to handle the demands of the everyday activity or living or lifestyle that now is presented to that office worker.
Yeah, and we also miss a big part of science, I believe. We say, oh, when you work out, you get an adrenaline rush because your blood pressure goes up and you get excited. Do we really think our brain gets an adrenaline rush just because we're moving? No. The muscles are releasing chemicals.
Right.
No doubt. And they're starting to talk about it, but they don't really yet. Because the minute those chemicals are known, I would venture to say half the psych industry and all their pharmaceutical companies are shot. Because once those chemicals are known, the chemicals made available by exercise that have been proven when you exercise, adjusting your metabolism, also adjusts your mental well-being because it's a physicality and mental thing. Those chemicals most likely are in increased amounts in people that exercise more or with more muscle mass. We might even be missing something because we associate muscle movement with fat burn. So the more we move our muscles, the more we burn fat. But remember, post-exercise, there are still chemical signals going to your fat to continue to burn fat and continue to burn carbs. Those signals last longer in more muscular people. So yes, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. If you have more muscle, you are health rich. If you have less muscle, you are health poor. A bodybuilder might be like a trillionaire. You might not want to be Elon Musk. He's a weird dude. He's got a lot of weird things happening. Does he have a ton of money? He does. You probably don't want it all. Just like the bodybuilder who has a ton of muscle, but you can never live that life because to maintain that muscle, you can't even maintain 100 pounds of muscle. Yeah. Try to maintain 280. So anybody who says, oh, I could be a bodybuilder, no, you can't. Zero shot. If you cannot maintain a normal physique day to day with a body fat percentage that's under 30, you have zero shot of maintaining physique at 5% your whole fucking life and lifting weights and eating. With that being said, you've been under eating for years. Your lifestyle of eating, bodybuilding, muscle mass, fat mass, all of it comes down to caloric in, caloric out at some point, because at the end of the day, that's the start and that's the finish. In between, we always talk about under eating. Examples of metabolic insufficiency are mostly seen in an environment of under caloric intake with overly high output on the caloric end of it, but for a cardiovascular fitness style event.
Yeah.
How do we get people to realize you have to have calories in if you're going to do this amount of cardiovascular exercise, but they have to be significantly higher than what you're using? Because most people have that problem.
Part of it is just differentiating what the different activities actually do for you.
Yep.
So cardio is typically everyone's default setting, when they have to get in shape or when they have to lose weight. I mean, if I polled 100 people, 99 would say, if I had to get in shape by the end of the month, I'm just going to run.
All of them.
Or do endless amounts of cardio.
Yeah.
And that's because probably the very causal relationship or association between if I do 30 minutes of bike, I'm going to burn 300 calories.
Yep.
All the monitors on the, they just tell you, right? Even though they're wrong, but they associate that with the right thing because it is some kind of a interpretation for them that if I do more and I eat a little less, I'm going to lose weight, which isn't false.
Right.
It's just short-sighted because cardio is really great for burning calories. It does really nothing significant for putting muscle mass on.
Yeah.
Which we talk about this because that increases your burn rate of calories every time, anytime, all the time.
Yes.
And that's the problem. So for that 30 minutes that you increase another, burn another 100 calories, it goes away as soon as you stop. You put another couple pounds of muscle on, that extra 100 calories lives with you every day that you're alive.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. And this is why I hate talking about in the context of longevity.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know what that means. Everyone talks about it in this
it means nothing. It means
way.
Nothing. Yeah.
But if you were to actually look at the long-term benefits of having 5 more pounds of muscle that you could preserve for 30 years, that's way more important to your overall health and lifestyle than just being able to run 30 minutes a day.
Yeah, I would venture to say if you tracked somebody's muscle mass from the day they were born till the day they die, you would see a lot of trends.
Yeah.
Independent of tragic car. The outliers are the outliers, but the quote unquote, oh, they died of old age, that's not just dying of old age. Now, the other concept people need to get in. The human body is very different than most things. A car, you put gas in it, and at any level of fuel in your fuel tank, if it's full or if you have a drop and you crank on the gas pedal, that car unregulated is going to give you all of its horsepower until it runs out of gas. I use the car analogy and I use the fuel tank analogy a lot, but the major difference now that I need to define for the viewing or listening audience, the fuel tank in your body as a human, as it is full or empty, depending on where it is, directly affects the horsepower you can put out. So unlike a car, if you're driving on the highway and the fuel tank is at half, you can still go 100 miles an hour. The human body, if the fuel tank is at half, you can only go 50 miles an hour. And when it's at 25%, you can only go 25 miles an hour as an equivalent. So how do we show people, truly, because it matters? You have to fuel your metabolism. Your metabolism is the machine that breaks down fat and burns calories. But just like recycling seemed so beautiful out of the gate, we didn't use our knowledge in science to figure out what a recycling plant would actually cost in terms of energy. And we proved that to supply a recycling plant with enough energy to break down and rebuild the products we want to save things actually burned more fuel. Transition that to the human body. So you lift, you're breaking down. You sleep, you're building up. How much fuel do you think that recycling plant takes? A lot. Do you think that recycling plant takes more than the person who daily is not breaking down anything with exercise and is not sleeping well in the buildup process? How much energy do you think that person uses? Not a lot.
Yeah.
They are very,
less.
very efficient. They are environmentally friendly. We want environmentally unfriendly humans. You want to break things down all day long, and you want to try to rebuild them all night long. How much energy does that require, and how do we tell people to have that process happen? You have to fuel the recycling plant, and that's what we are. We take garbage matter, random assortments of amino acids, fatty acids, triglycerides in a food source. Yeah, it might look texture, whatever, for your appeal, but it's just a pile of macro and micronutrients. We eat it, we chew it, we break it down, and then we rebuild it. We are a giant recycling plant. The fuel for that's important. Let's talk about that. How do we get women in particular, I think, body dysmorphic men in particular, I think, but in general pop, to realize you got to fuel the system?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of this we can reverse back into calories in versus calories out.
Yep.
And our focus on the calories in side of things. Okay. So our food comes in, and what are the things that will actually affect the calories going out is this giant idea of thermodynamics,
Yes.
right? So we know that there are 4 big components to that, and they are as follows in terms of like where the calories will end up. So we have your basal metabolic rate, which we test here. So it gives us a good understanding of how many calories you need just to be alive, right? Like because everyone
Most
thinks
people
metabolism
don't know.
is like metabolism's exercise based. It's not. It's metabolism is there to keep you alive, survival.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't have enough energy for your heart to beat, for you to breathe, for you to, fight off infection, like you go away. All right. So that's what basal metabolic rate is. Just your baseline number of calories to stay in existence.
To keep your brain operating.
Yeah, correct. Then we have something called your exercise activity thermogenesis.
Yep.
So how much energy you're actually consuming during exercise, which could be lifting, could be running, whatever. Then we have non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is everything that lives outside dedicated or purposeful exercise, right?
Yep.
So that's doing laundry, taking a shower, dropping your kids off, everything that exists outside exercise. And then you have thermic effect of food. How much cost of your metabolism is dedicated to the processing and utilization of food.
Marcus, you better remember all that shit because I can't.
The 4 things.
The 4 things.
But those 4 things give us a really good understanding of the bigger levers that we can pull. So we don't have to worry about cold plunges and intermittent fasting and hormone balance just yet.
Yep.
If we focus on those 4 things, which are all really I shouldn't say easily, they are teachable qualities of life if you have the right coach and support.
Right.
So if you have those 4 things for the most part under control, and you know what things can influence positively, then you have a way better chance of matching your caloric input with the caloric output. And then we have really great results. This is where we see body composition improve. This is where we see your blood panels improve, your cognition improve, your stress management improve. So those 4 things really do have a huge impact downstream.
We got to do something. I want to invite any bariatric surgeon or client of a bariatric surgeon to come in and ask, at what point in your experience with whatever healthcare system you've been in, did your bariatric surgery team discuss those 4 thermodynamic inputs and outputs that are going to affect your weight overall that you're going under anesthesia to get your stomach cut out? Question for the population. Maybe ask. I don't know. I'd love to hear a bariatric surgeon explain to me when they assess those 4 things and they assess a patient's metabolism, what are they looking for as an indicator for surgery aside from just raw weight? Because if it's just raw weight, why don't we just cut the fat off, right? If it's purely for weight. No, it's actually to adjust their metabolism. So by default, the medical community forever has been telling us, oh, we can't adjust metabolism. We can't adjust metabolism. But then they sell you on a surgical procedure that adjusts your metabolism, that adjusts your caloric intake and output, even though they tell you it doesn't matter. It's not just your input and your output. It's those guys don't make sense. They're just gym rats. Do you see the confusion that the medical community has? Why? Because they don't understand it themselves. Why? Because you walk in a doctor's office, they're all overweight, sweating, overworked. Ask them their caloric needs. They got no idea. I was wanting to swear really loud, but I didn't. So much so to the point that assessment from a medical doctor for weight loss on a scale of 0 to 10, do you think it's worthy of sitting in any doctor's office to try to figure out how to fix your metabolism aside from an environment like this?
I would say that a surgical intervention isn't the correct fix if it is based in behavior and knowledge.
Thank you. So at the end of the day, the exact equivalent of a bariatric surgery with a gastric bypass or a sleeve is the equivalent to a psychotic getting a lobectomy. Same shit. Can't figure out the problem. We can't change your lifestyle. We got to cut that thing out. Think about it. It's crazy. A frontal lobectomy for psychosis. I mean, we do the same thing. We cut you open and cut your stomach out because you can't stop doing this. Now, I'm not blaming the human for doing this. It's the brain asking the body for something that some doctor out there just didn't want to take the time to figure out. But in here, with the use of Michael Ranfone and Marko Lujic and RTS, we figure out metabolism. So what have we found? In terms of metabolism, do you think after this whole conversation, because then people are going to say, well, I'm stuck. I'm doing everything you're saying, right? I'm like watching what I'm eating, my thermodynamics laws, I'm paying attention to them. Come on, Mike, I'm stuck, right? Like, so what should we do with people that are stuck? Because I got to say it's the most common thing. Now, hold on to that thought, answer that question, but I do want to express something that I can say. In the past, 6 weeks of time, I feel like this is a relatively personal admission to the general population, but at this point, fucking everybody knows everything. I've had this thing where I really, really feel comfortable in my body. I feel like I really enjoy how I look, how I present myself to the population, all of it. And in doing so, it's given me this weird sense of I don't need to really chase more muscle. I don't really need to chase more anything because it's the slow process. It's the constant. I'm constantly building a little bit of muscle with the consistency of exercise. I'm constantly hitting plateaus, but those plateaus for me now aren't lack of progress because I've finally, and I think the one major thing right now that really clicked is maintenance of what I have right now metabolically is easier for me to maintain than anywhere else I've been so far with my lifestyle. So I can get up, I have the time to eat, work out, I can go to work and go to bed. My caloric intake is essentially neutral. I don't really change weight much more than 3 to 8 pounds a week, but that's water dependent, carb dependent workout. I mean, I could go 3 to 5 pounds in a day. How do you tell people you're going to get to a point that's really good and you do not regress? And that is nirvana, I believe, in terms of metabolism. But how do we explain that to people, that these plateaus, we can get through them, but also some of these plateaus are eventually going to be where you want to be?
Yeah, if we're taking someone on a weight loss journey, and specifically fat loss, we know that plateaus are going to happen. The important consideration when a plateau occurs is we're probably just looking at the wrong data because we know that the human body doesn't stagnate. There's always changes going on.
Yeah. Good point.
So whether we're looking at your weight or maybe your muscle mass or another input, something's actually probably improving.
Yeah.
Or something just needs to be changed to incur a next level of output or metric that we care about, right?
Yeah.
And some of it, again, is just a function of time. So, but when people are oh, the scale hasn't moved. Well, there's a good chance that you lost a pound of fat and gained a pound of muscle in that interim of viewing your output of weight loss.
Yes.
So that's, again, incredibly positive. But if we were just looking at scale weight, we are going to miss that and then think we're going to change everything, or that we are discouraged that change did not occur. So I think it's really important just to establish that the body's always trying to adapt. Is whether or not it's adapting to our benefit in the long run.
Yeah.
Because that's the crazy thing about human biology, is that adaptation doesn't happen by accident.
Yes.
And that all adaptation is to keep you alive.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a bad adaptation.
Yeah.
Maybe a bad exposure, but you still have to adapt to that thing, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because everybody these days thinks we're like brilliant humans, right? And like adaptation. No, we're pushing the limits of space travel and all these other things and tech. Who do you think is smarter? The human who can invent a space shuttle with all the tech available and all the workers available and all the money available right now to do that? Or the thing back in whatever time period that had to figure out how to like cook and catch an animal that was running? Now, a lot will say, oh, reptilian brain, kill mode, whatever. But like at the end of the day, intelligence is trying to survive. You cut electricity to the United States right now, you're going to watch everybody die. So level of intelligence, you could be a doctor, lawyer. If you don't have electricity right now, you will not make it. So adaptation, like you said, has to be forced.
Yeah.
And the only environment in this soft, cushioned, nobody breaks a bone society we have, because it's really soft. It's really hard to get through to people to actually take accountability. The only place to adapt is in a gym. You've said it the whole time. Evolution of the human body happens in the gym. De-evolution, or the regression of human well-being, is happening actively while we're looking at it, because everybody is addicted to tech.
Yeah.
It's a sedentary, sitting style lifestyle. People will always chase that novelty thing. So those sitters, those non-doers, will go get the shake plate. They'll get the Bowflex. They'll get the tonal. They'll do this, and they hire a trainer, and they blah, 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 blah. They think they can pay for it. But what it really comes down to is coming into the gym and moving, exercising. So what do we have to do to convince people then that true evolution, we're not like talking right now about the finer qualities of life. We are actually talking about surviving, because society right now is becoming infertile. IVF rates are through the roof. They're predicting very soon it'll all be IVF. Like, think about that, people. If you lose the ability to procreate, I don't care who you are, and I'm not some religious freak, right? But like, what the hell? I mean, that's scarier than nuclear war to me, is that our testosterone, our testicles are going away and we have no more sperm. Like, if you can't reproduce, we're done. Part of muscle activity is what? Increased muscle metabolic stimulation, increased hormone production. And do you think a 25-year-old who exercises constantly, or a 25-year-old who sits on the couch, which one is more fertile?
Yeah.
So it even comes down to stuff like that. It's heavy duty these days, right? The biggest thing we then need to blend is the public's, I think, association with this facility, a gym with a doctor, as a healthcare facility. And we are going to push evolution from an exercise standpoint and from a metabolic standpoint. From a user and a consumer and somebody who has now experienced what metabolic efficiency might feel like, even more so than when you were before. What is it like to fully feel in control of all of your dietary and exercise needs? Because you are the ultimate of eating consistently, exercising consistently, and you've like nailed it down, not in a robotic way because you live a day-to-day life. But what does it feel like? Like how much of a feeling of control is it, and comfort and value, knowing that your metabolism is in your own hands?
I'll start with, about 10 years ago when I didn't have all this stuff together, and how I felt compared to how I feel now. Because I felt off. I felt stressed all the time. I was tired. I made worse decisions. I don't think I showed up as well for either my family or my employees, or even my members.
Yeah.
And a big driver at the time was I kept on going back to like what I said mattered. and how I was failing at achieving those things.
Yeah.
And I realized, and I took a picture of this, honestly, on my whiteboard 10 years ago. And I was like, I always say that like the most important things are, you know, my family, my business, and my health. And I wasn't meeting those criteria in any significant or obvious ways.
Right.
So I said, well, what are the things that are taking me away from that? And it was like time management. It was alcohol. It was as simple as fantasy, like just things that really weren't congruent with what I said I wanted.
Yeah.
And I started with the simple things of like removing the obstacles that I felt were in my way to what I wanted. And that was sleeping poorly, eating haphazardly, not training all that consistently, believe it or not, or not being able to train consistently because I was tired, stressed, hurt.
Right.
You know, my injury, like I kept on getting hurt every time I wanted to push myself.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the recovery on my side or the nutrition support. So I really just started with a very simple way of like, I say I want X. What are the things that are clearly not helping me get that thing or in support of those things?
Right.
So it was that, and that time I hired my first real coach and committed to doing a training in nutrition. Like sounds so ridiculous because this is what I sell, but I needed help.
Yeah.
A coach needed a coach. So I signed up with someone that I thought was very reputable and obviously competent. And I started paying for accountability.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what I was doing. I said I wanted to do something.
He said it.
And I needed the accountability to see it through.
Yeah.
And me paying a dollar amount made me pay attention.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
And from then on, I've almost always had a coach, whether it be nutrition, training, or business, or any other aspect of my life that I needed help with.
Yeah.
So it was really just this mindset shift of asking for help was the correct move.
Yeah.
And then making sure that I had some way of assessing, was I actually moving closer to what I wanted?
Yeah.
And if not, what was possibly a constraint or taking me somewhere else?
Yeah.
And because I had so much control in the nutrition and the training, all those other things started to fall in place. So I started to say no to certain opportunities or business deals or family obligations. Right. And then I was able to kind of recenter or recalibrate my focus on what the things were that gave me the best benefit. And I just did more of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it happens to everybody. I was deep in hospital world and it was actually killing me. It sucks the life out of you. And I so now believe in environmental help. Like if you put yourself in the right environment, you win. The hospital environment for me was insane, right? I was around a bunch of people that maybe I'm a Neanderthal. I don't know what to say, but if I'm in a room with somebody who's like talking to me like I'm an idiot and I know I can squish their head like this, that bothers me, right? Like I don't do well with that because if I'm going to respect you physically by not altering your appearance while you're talking to me mentally as if I'm a child, right? Like I should treat you physically like that. But you can't do that in that environment, right? Like I can't be in the surgeon's lounge and choking the urologist against the wall who told me my beard's shitty, right? But that's what he probably should get. But then that environment wears on you because those people force you to really focus on financial. The push is money. Thank God I left. And here's why. When you actually deliver healthcare and you actually give somebody the fulfillment of what you're telling them you're giving them and not just a fraudulent presentation of health, the money follows. The people follow because we're trying to do the right thing. But that environment, mentally, physically, it'll kill you. So I left. But I will say since then, your experience with grasping your healthcare or metabolism, my experience with leaving, coming here and being like, I got to change this. How do we do that? And if you look at what we've done, our evolution metabolically has actually transitioned to the evolution of healthcare. And I think we're going to give a deliverable that is something the world has not seen. I think it's a version of healthcare that will get people evolving and progressing beyond what we're doing. Because right now, the scariest thing I think that I presented to the population today is infertility. It is a pandemic. And if you look at it, I'll leave you with this little piece of information. In the timing of heavy administration of birth control and a big push into the processed food world, we've started to see infertility rates get higher and higher and higher. And right now, OBGYNs have an entire billions of dollar industry based on getting you pregnant. People, if we're talking about the most simple form of anything on this planet that you are given the right to perform, that is procreation, right? That's the only thing we're really here to do. And it's getting taken away. I sound like a maniac, but part of my day-to-day stress on Instagram, I know I post some nutty stuff, is because that really, really scares me. I don't care about war. I don't care about somebody showing up to my house to punch me in the face. I'll figure that out. I get really nervous knowing that my kids and the kids beyond them might not be able to have more kids. Like, the fertility rates are not changing slowly. It's drastic. We have 25 and 30-year-olds coming in here with no sperm, no past use of anabolics. I see it every day. And those fertility clinics out there just fucking let it slide. Sorry to get a little bit heated, but it's a big thing. Easter, bunnies, candy. Let's talk about
Easter
it.
gifts.
Sorry, I can transition quick. I'm good at compartmentalizing irritation. Marcus, any Easter plans for you, buddy?
No Easter plans, but we did get a comment on one of our videos.
Yes.
Live.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a negative, more negative
Yeah,
comment.
Go for it.
All right, so I'm going to play the video first. I'm not sure if he maybe took it out of context or what it is.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, so we'll play the video here.
This is good.
Let's get it connected.
Live feed video.
Yeah.
So this was from how long ago?
This is from
Is
the
it recent?
podcast. This is from the podcast with with Mark.
Ah,
Yeah.
interesting.
It's connected. Take like 2 seconds.
This is good. Marcus had this
Yeah.
queued up, people.
Well,
like
I
this.
saw it as you guys were talking, and I'm like, let's look into it.
He's on it. Marcus is all over it these days.
All right, so here it
And if
is.
you look back, where did physical therapy as a profession come from? And if you look back, to essentially when we first kind of start seeing this profession show up, it was after World War II. So you have servicemen coming home, they're blown up, they're dismembered, and really a lot of it was around like amputees, right? So like that became kind of like this big thing. And then they realized that over the course of time that it's like, oh, like we can fix your crappy shoulder, right? Like that wasn't amputated or shot at or something like that. And now that becomes the, emphasis or the entryway to like what this profession actually, where it actually started. The thought process is like, as we're looking at, what we do in physical therapy, we're just really leveraging principles, right? Principles of healing. There's a few governing principles that really kind of like dictate how an individual will get better. A simple principle is like the nervous system governs everything. You probably won't hear most PTs reference this because I don't even know if they really understand that, that concept.
Or think about it.
Or even think about it.
Right.
Like, when you go into school, like everything is kind of constructed into like segmented portions. So you learn the nervous system, you learn the musculoskeletal system, and they don't talk to each other. Why would they go through and do that? Like, so it's members of all one system, right?
So his comment was the nervous system and the musculoskeletal system don't talk to each other, as he was quoting it.
What?
And then he says, that's all I needed to hear, not taking advice from this guy.
Yeah, so he misquoted. He's got no idea what he's talking about. But here's what that means. If the nerve system and if the musculoskeletal system are not communicating well, then you have miscommunication, which doesn't work. When they communicate the right way, that's what we're shooting for. So I think he maybe didn't listen.
Yeah, I have actually no idea what he's talking about because how does a muscle function? It is.
Yeah, all neural input.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you can't listen, read, or write, you got to not comment. Like if you don't understand what you're commenting on, don't comment. Listen.
Like innervation of a muscle.
Yeah. In 2002, the Women's Health Initiative, a group of OBGYNs had a giant set of data. They didn't know how to read. They didn't know how to write. So then they told everybody that estrogen caused cancer, and they killed a lot of women over 20 years. It is dangerous, whoever wrote that comment, to not listen.
I hope he's not a professional.
He better not be. And come on the podcast.
Hey, what happens
Let's go.
When a baby comes out of the mother?
Yeah.
Like, what do you test for?
Yeah, nervous reflex. Yeah.
Like, so what happened? Let me ask you.
Marcus, this is
great. What happens if the baby doesn't respond to a reflex situation?
Yeah, musculoskeletal
And
diagnosis.
it's usually really bad.
You're bad.
Really bad.
Yeah, you're bad.
because the muscles are telling you how that nervous system functioning
Is interaction.
on the onset is.
Yeah, so like somebody who's horrifically coordinated, right.
There's also this weird thing that rarely happens called paralysis when your nervous system
does
is
not communicate. Yeah. So that's our response. Thanks for commenting. Anybody else, though, if you do have educated, intelligent responses, we would love to discuss them. That's it for Aggressively Healthy. Enjoy your Easter. Bunnies and baskets.